This is big breaking emergency news. We are now seeing the U.S. military getting prepared for a, quote, dire situation inside the United States. That is what they're warning of and preparing for right now. All right. We also have a potential attack on a U.S. military base as well. And we are being alerted that rockets are firing towards U.S. military bases and U.S. military assets. All right, so lots of big things going on. We also have a major deployment and show of force of U.S. nuclear bombers. Right, so we're going to dive into all these stories. There's a lot of big stuff going on inside the United States and around the world, and you should be getting prepared. All right, so really quick, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on this big urgent news. All right, so you can see here, this is a drone that the U.S. military is now using to prepare for a, quote, dire situation inside the United States. The National Guard is preparing for this as well. And we also have a potential attack on a U.S. military base as well, just today as well. All right, check this out really quick. This is an urgent update. It says 5 rockets fired from Iraq towards U.S. military base in Syria, security sources say. It says the attacks come one day after a huge blast at a military base in Iraq earlier on Saturday, right? And there were casualties from this event. They were saying it was Iranian-backed groups in Iraq potentially that fired on this military base. All right, there were casualties from the Iraqi incident. There are no confirmed casualties from this military base currently. All right, this is a live situation, and I will keep you guys updated, right? But rockets have been fired towards a U.S. military base potentially, right? So that's what's going on right now. And domestically, we also have the U.S. military getting prepared for a, quote, dire situation. You can see here it says Army Guard elevates disaster response with UAS training. It says, in preparation for the, quote, direst of days on the homeland front, a dozen citizen soldiers recently enhanced their technical acumen on unmanned aviation systems after completing a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer qualification course. All right, so they are now bringing in these drones to prepare and respond to these biological and chemical disasters. You can see here it says the training helps ensure the Army National Guard members hailing from chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high-yield explosive response teams can safely and effectively operate UAS and the national airspace systems. All right, so that first sentence is critical as well in preparation for the direst of days on the home front. All right, because this would be life-changing, life-altering, and we have all of these things going on in our country. Our country is wide open and exposed. We don't know exactly who is coming in, and there could be people coming in that want to orchestrate these attacks. We're already seeing attacks on our critical infrastructure all the time. Cables cut. All right, I was reporting on earlier today. All these things are going on in our country constantly, and the U.S. military and the National Guard is always preparing for this as well. They're always running hazmat drills and full hazmat suits for things like stadiums and events like that. And now they're doing training to operate drones during a chemical, biological, radiological event. And you can see here it says these platforms mitigate the need to put our soldiers in harm's way. like radiological exposure, for example, while conducting site assessments. And they said larger aircraft can be used for missions such as personnel evacuation. All right, so they're training for this. They're getting ready for this potentially a domestic situation inside the U.S. We've seen all these different intel agencies warning of this, the FBI, DHS, that we could see events like this, but everything is still wide open, right? So you should be getting prepared too. You need to have some form of potassium iodide. That is what government agencies hand out, right? I'm not saying that's going to save you, but that is the standard in this situation, right? Also have alternative forms of communication so you can contact people, contact your family, your loved ones, and evacuate these areas if you need to, if services are down, communications are down as well, because we could see these things in coordination, cyber attacks or physical attacks on communications and critical infrastructure, so there's no response to the events, so they're not able to get emergency services there. Remember the 911 outage just a few days ago? All right, that is something that would happen in tandem with a chemical, radiological, biological events as well. So nobody can respond. Emergency services can't get there and can't respond properly, right? So we also see the U.S. military, all right, they have done this as well. They have paraded 12 nuclear stealth bombers, and Val's jets are, quote, ready to strike anywhere, anytime, amid Middle East tensions. All right, so this was just a few days ago. This is part of Operation, quote, Spirit Vigilance, and they were doing this massive test showing off the bombers, all right? And they've done stuff like this a few times before, but given the timing of this and the escalations that we're seeing around the world, having all 12 of these bombers in the same place, this isn't all of them, but having 12 of them all in the same place like this, these each cost over $1 billion each. And if some kind of freak accident or event happens where anything could happen, right? And these were wiped out, 12 of them. It's a very high risk to have them all in the same area, right? So this is a major show of force, and this just actually happened a couple days ago. And the U.S. is doing these drills. This is all part of it. These drills that they're doing, this training, right? All the drills and training that they do domestically and overseas, a lot of it is cover. It's cover to move assets around and to get prepared for a big event that they are preempting. All right, so make sure you are getting ready to. Make sure you guys are getting stocked up. Make sure your prepper pantry is filled, ready to go. And make sure you're getting out of these major cities, all right? Because they are going to be chaotic if an event like this happens, even if it's overseas. If we see some kind of escalations between Iran, Israel, right? Or the U.S. gets more involved because military bases start getting hit more often, right? We're dealing with that right now currently. Then we could see people starting to panic buy things along those lines inside the United States and clear out the shelves. This happens in these European countries all the time. They've been warning that war is coming, and people have been getting ready. The governments have been warning them to stock up and get prepared. Countries in Europe, right? So that day is potentially coming to the U.S. soon, where we're going to see these warnings directly from our government, right? So you're hearing it from me, but we could hear it officially soon. So please hit it up for me down there to help get this warning out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and check out my other video I posted earlier today. Cables are being cut across the country. We're seeing major outages. There's a lot of stuff going on. Law enforcement is worried about it, okay? And that's what's happening domestically every day. And this is happening at the same time stuff is escalating overseas, right? They're talking about targeting nuclear power plants, right? And targeting them with EMP like weapons or even missile systems. And if we ever saw a cyber attack or some kind of physical attack on a power plant in the United States, this could be devastating. And we actually saw the Delaware Emergency Management Agency just a few weeks ago. They were passing out potassium iodide tablets to the public for free because they were preparing for a major radiological disaster like a power plant getting cyber attacked or having a meltdown or some kind of emergency situation. All right, so make sure you guys are getting prepared, getting ready, getting out of these major cities, and trying to get your homestead going. All right, that's what we're working on right now. I've been tweaking this. I built this massive chicken coop, right? We're working on another one too. And this thing's huge. Like, you can walk in it. It's really big. And I've been working on waterproofing it, right? Because it's every time it rains, water just gets in somehow. And then it accumulates and it just starts flooding, right? And I had it in a bad spot too. I thought this spot was decent out of the flood zone, and I had to move it over too, right? So that's what I've been dealing with here, trying to get this coop completely waterproof, right? So it doesn't turn into a swamp inside of there whenever it rains, because that's one of the main things with animals is that they can't be wet. They can be wet, but they can't be cold and wet, right? Or else they're going to get sick and they're probably not going to make it. They can be a little wet, but they can't be soaking wet, just sitting in water. They're not going to make it. They can get a little wet if they're warm, can dry out, get on a dry spot. But that's something that I've been struggling with here, is that preventing this rain from accumulating inside the coop and keeping it completely dry in there. It's just a massive coop and it's hard to keep airflow and keep it dry, right? So that's what we're working on here. That's my little chicken rant, chicken update here for our homestead. I hope you guys have big blessings on your homestead, for your family, for your life, right? And I hope you guys have a big old blessed day.